Howdy, y'all. Man, I am glad to get in a game. I feel like it's been a while since I've gotten actually some models on the table. I don't know if it's the same with y'all, but it feels good to get some Age of Sigmar playing up in here. So, we do have a battle report today, and we're going to run through some lists and then look at some pictures and talk about why I made the bad decisions I made, per usual. So this list today, I'm taking Seraphon and Thunder Lizards. We're going to take our Slann Starmaster, and I didn't take Croak this time just because I needed the extra points to fit this list in here. We are going to give him the Stellar Tempest spell, which kind of helps me bust some hordes. You roll a dice for every model in that unit that you cast a spell on, and on a 5-up it is mortal. Real good for taking out hordes. I'm also taking a Stegadon with Skink Chief. This is going to be my general here in Thunder Lizards. And he's going to get the command trait Prime Warbeast, which gives +1 to all the mount attacks, so all the ones for Stegadons, which is good. And the artifact, the Fusel of Conflagration, which can do some mortals at range, so it gives them another shooting attack, basically. It can also destroy itself, though, so you never know what's going to happen. Generally, I forget to use it. The weapon, he's obviously taking the Skystreak Bow for some long-range 3 damage shots, which are pretty awesome. I'm also taking a Saurus Scarvet on Carnosaur with a War Spear, a Skink StarPriest with the spell Hand of Glory, which is basically reroll hit rolls of 1. So I try to cast that instead of spending a command point for reroll 1s. And then Skink Priest. And my battle lines are 40 models of Skinks, 40 Saurus Warriors with clubs, just because that's how I have them modeled, 2 Stegadons with the Skystreak Bow, and an extra command point. So the logic behind this list is I kind of wanted 3 different groups, 3 different power pairs that I could deploy together and kind of be autonomous. So I have my Stegadon, and he's going to be hanging around with the 2 Battle Line Stegadons. So that Skink Chief on Stegadon is going to be running with the other 2 guys. He can buff them up, give them extra attacks in melee. Also, it makes a pretty good range threat with all 3 of their attacks. That's 9 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 rend, 3 damage each. So you can usually take out some support heroes with that, or start working on some battle line if you need to clear some screens. My other unit is going to be the Scarvet on Carnosaur paired up with the Saurus Warriors. I took the Scarvet just so I can, well, he's cheaper. I needed the points, but also because I do like his command ability where he can add the 6s will explode into another hit, especially when you're hopefully just going to try to get quite a few hits on these guys. They're not really quality hits from the Saurus Warriors. And really, I'm thinking about using these guys as more of my home base. They're going to hold the objective. Here's 40 bodies and a big monster that you don't want to attack. So that's hopefully the plan with them. And then I've got my Skink cohort there. So we've got the Skink StarPriest and Priest that will go along with the 40 Skinks. And they can offer some range shooting, lots of mortals, and they're fast if they need to be, lots of bodies. The problem with Coalesced, unfortunately, there's a lot of good things that go along with Coalesced, like they are -1 to damage, and so that really helps if you're fighting some guys that have multi-damage attacks. But the bravery is not good. So Coalesced, you can't modify the bravery, which means hordes in Coalesced are already at a disadvantage because they don't get the horde bonus. That does modify the bravery characteristic, not the bravery roll. So if you start losing guys from the Skinks or the Warriors, they're going to go down fast because you don't get the horde bonus on bravery for these guys, and the Skinks have a 5. The Warriors have an 8, so it's a little bit better. But yeah, that's why I brought the extra command point. If I get alpha striked, then I need some way to save these guys so that they can come back. Yeah, they can stick around. All right, so that's my list right there. My Slann is just going to kind of be hanging in the back, hopefully flinging some mortals. Do a Stellar Tempest. He's not too critical to the list, other than I need some command points from him. And the board-wide mortals, of course, is always good. So that's my list. I'm playing against my buddy John, and he is bringing his Nurgle infantry. Now look at this list. Whew. All right, so he's in the Blessed Sons, and he's only got 2 small foot heroes. The Lord of Blights, who's in the Blight Sith battalion with him, and he's got the command trait Foul Conqueror and artifact Bloat Shell Bile Plate. I'm not sure which one of those does what, but one of them does an automatic run of 6. You don't have to spend a command point for it. So that makes these Nurgle, which are surprisingly fast. They look slow on paper, but they can actually move pretty quick based on where he puts the tree. Also, the Lord of Afflictions has the Witherstay, which is reroll 6s once you're in certain range of him. He'll probably camp that behind one of these big units and make you reroll all your 6s to hit when you're in range. That paired up with the Nurgle Wheel of Contagion thing, where you're rerolling wound rolls of 6, can make for a pretty nasty melee phase where you're rerolling all the 6s that you're doing. So his units, which fit into that Blight Cyst, are 60 Putrid Blightkings. That is a lot of beef. Look at how many wounds he has. 255 wounds. So this is just a matter of, can you grind through this list in time to score the objectives, or just outmaneuver him on the table. These guys unfortunately take up a lot of real estate, so it's really hard to outmaneuver them. And if they can get a hold of you, then they are nasty. They have multiple attacks each, and then if they hit on a 6 on the hit, then it turns into D6 hits. And so they can just cascade hits. Everything in the army is basically only 1 damage, so my Coalesce doesn't help me a lot here. But we'll have to see if I can out damage him and clear off enough guys to get through that. But pretty nasty list, quite beefy. He is coming in at 1970, so he'll get the Triumph, which he rolls, and I think it was reroll hits on a unit once in the game. So there's where we're at. We are playing the battle type of Forcing the Hand. This is from the new book, and we've got 6 objectives kind of lined up on a diagonal there. You can see them lining up across the board there. And the unique aspect of this is in your opponent's turn, you choose one of your objectives to be the primary, and that one's worth 3. Unfortunately, this never really came into play in our game because in every turn, we pretty much had one objective each that was either unobtainable or would have just stretched the other person too thin to try to make a play at it. And so that never really came into effect. We basically just scored 1 point per objective every turn this entire game. So that's the game type we're playing. Here's our board setup. Got a little town here in the middle, forest over on the right side, and some other random rock things. We do have those nice honest wargamer objectives that make the game pretty easy and fast to play. I did get the Realm Shaper on my side, so that's exciting for a Seraphon player when you win that roll off and you get the terrain piece on your side. Hey, that's nice. And he put his Nurgle tree there in the middle, and so that will be in play for a lot of these objectives here. So you take a look at some of the armies here. He's got a couple squads that are corrupted Stormcast Eternals. He hadn't finished work on these yet, but they're turning out to be pretty cool looking. They're all corrupted Stormcast. You see all the big boys getting lined up. There's one of them. So much beef. There's my Stegadons. I'm putting them in a group. They'll be running together. Got all my warriors and my Carnosaur there in the background, and my Skink horde over on that far side. You can kind of see the table here. And because of this deployment line, it is kind of a weird deployment line. Like the deployment's basically here, and you have to stay 12 inches. I guess the deployment line was more like that. You got to stay 12 inches back from that line. You can see he's 12 inches back, 12 inches back. It kind of makes for a funny deployment, and it's kind of fun though. I enjoyed the game type. It was a little bit more strategic than I think just like smashing into each other from across the table. So it was pretty nice. I deployed these 3 Stegadons here. I was thinking I could kind of create a choke point to where maybe I could put pressure on this objective with these Stegadons in that tight corridor, and he wouldn't be able to get too many of the Blightkings on me. I know that's kind of strange because they're behemoths, but his bases are pretty big too, and so maybe if he sends these guys this way, I can kind of put a squeeze on from the side of this building. I put my Slann in the Realm Shaper engine so I could use the Realm Shaper engine. He was lined up real close to a couple of these houses and terrain pieces back here. So if I got first turn, I was going to be able to blow up one of those with the Realm Shaper engine rule. These warriors I put in the middle, I was hoping I could just get them to this objective and kind of hold on there. And knowing he would put some pressure probably on that one from that group. And I can outbody him with these guys until we get into combat. These Skinks here, they're fast enough I can kind of react with them if I need to help cover this. But I really just wanted to start peppering these guys from the side. And hopefully if they were coming down in this way, I could kind of pincer them in with the Skinks and the warriors at the same time. He lined his up. Just basically, you could kind of see where he's going with these big blocks. He's gonna cover those, score those, and then push forward. I don't have a lot of movement shenanigans in this list, and so we're gonna meet in the middle at some point, and I can't really get past him to his objectives. He can't do the same to me either. So if I can get up and screen him with something, then I can keep him pinned back. He did outdrop me. He's only a 2-drop army, which is pretty cool for him. I'm way too many drops, so he definitely outdropped me. And he decided to take turn 1. In turn 1, he moves these guys up, moves those guys up just a little bit. He's staying a little cagey with them, and then move those guys up. Primarily, not really to threaten, but just to hold this objective. And he's keeping this guy in range of both groups there. The reason it looks like he took turn 1 is because he had a trick up his sleeve. He's gonna get up 1 point on me. You can see his measuring stick here. He had enough contagion points from the tree and whatever else he could do to summon in a small unit of plague bearers. So he popped in a unit of plague bearers right on that objective and was able to score that one along with his other 3. So he'd instantly be up 1 point on me, which that was a shame because now I'm going to have to take one of his back from him at some point to tie it up and then hold it for an extra turn to score. To come out ahead. So it's going to be, I'm already in the hole turn 1, and I've got a lot in front of me to get rid of. So that's how that turn ended. Not a whole lot happening in his turn, just repositioning and pulling in those guys to score. So he scores 4 points in his turn. And I'm probably not going to go through what our primary objectives, what we chose for each one. I think most of the game I chose this one over here just because he didn't quite have the range to get over there. And he pretty much chose this one over here the whole game because I didn't have quite enough bodies to threaten that one when he had that big group. So I probably won't mention that again. But those were our primaries. Didn't really ever come into play. So he's up 4-0 going into my turn. In my turn, I'm pulling these guys instead of my original strategy over here. I knew that he was going to be able to get within range of this tree on his next turn, and these guys can run and charge when they're within 7 of that tree. He gets a free run from his general, so that range was going to just throw them straight up into my front lines. So my plan was to send one Stegadon just to tap this guy right here, try to get as few into combat from these guys as possible, and maybe I can hold them against that line if he gets the next turn. All that would do is just keep me from getting those Blightkings up in my grill on his next turn. These guys over here were actually far enough away that they couldn't threaten this objective on his next turn, so I wasn't worried about them yet. I had to worry about this unit that was going to run and charge in his turn. I brought in these warriors. Unfortunately, I probably shouldn't have deployed the Carnosaur completely bubble wrapped because those warriors were so slow. I literally had to run them because if I failed their charge, which it was going to be a pretty long charge to get to those plague bearers, I wasn't going to be able to score my own objective. And so if I could have, I should have not bubble wrapped that Carnosaur because he's not going to alpha strike me with anything. And I could have easily gotten this Carnosaur in to those those Plague Bearers turn 1 and killed them off. So I'm still scoring the objective. They're just there as a nuisance now, so it's not that big a deal. These Skinks I just inched up to where they're all within 18 of this front line of guys, and I'm gonna sit back as far as I can and just pepper them for 2 turns maybe, and then try to make my move on them if I can clear enough of them off. So these Stegadons are kind of repositioning to focus mostly on that group. Let's see. So now we start our Skinks are starting to shoot, and they're actually doing pretty good. I think I was removing about 5 Blightkings per turn, which that's like 20 wounds per turn that's making it through, and so that's some pretty awesome damage. Unfortunately, it's a big block of 20, so it's gonna at that rate it's gonna take me all game. So I am able to remove a few from there. And the Stegadons start shooting into here. I think my Realm Shipper engine, I don't think it did anything over here. I did put some mortals from the Slann on here. I rolled pretty low for the board-wide Comet all game. It'd be like one unit, maybe 2 that would get attacked, and that was it. So it's kind of low, and I wasn't rolling very high for mortals. So I think we put all these Stegadon shots just into these guys. I wasn't too worried about the heroes. He was going down. I may have focused one of them on him, because they're not really that important to this list. He's got good bravery, so he's not worried about battle shock really, and the heroes aren't doing too much. And so I crashed that Stegadon into here, as well as putting some mortals on, or putting some shots on them to start taking them out. And we can see we killed off, looks like about 3. I think I had almost 1 more down just from that Stegadon's fight. So he did pretty good, killing off some of those guys. They were able to pile in and get, I think it was 3 in, and took down, looks like 4 damage onto that Stegadon. So he survived. That was my plan. I just needed to hold those guys in place if he got the next turn. So that's how that turn ended. We were able to kill off, it looks like about 7 Blightkings there. And if I can get the double turn, maybe I can kill off some extra ones. If he gets the double turn, or if he gets the turn, he'll for sure kill off that Stegadon, but won't be able to do too much else. And he didn't really want to leave this to go after the Skinks, just because I could swing around and capture that objective fairly easily. So I score 3 points. That dice is supposed to be over here. But I score 3 points that turn, so now it's 4-3 going into turn 2. Priority roll, I win it, yay! So I do take it. I could have let him have it, and he would have advanced closer to me. The problem is he probably could have gotten aggressive and taken out those Skinks if he wanted to. So I didn't know if he was going to be that aggressive. He could definitely swing down and start deleting these guys. So I wanted to go ahead and take it just so I could get another round of shooting, get these Skinks on them, hopefully delete another 5 of those, kill off the last couple wounds on that hero, and maybe take out some more of these guys. If I could get down his numbers a little bit, maybe it'd help me in the long run. So on my turn, I'm moving this Stegadon Chief, and I'm going to swing him over to this side. If I'd put him over here, he would have been in danger from the other Blightkings that were going to come this way. And it was going to be about the same charge, depending on which way he went. So I swung around this way just to get blocked by the house, so it couldn't pile in as many, and he could do some damage. Skinks continue to fire. They basically just stay there out of range as far as they can, and we'll kill off another 5 Blightkings. We're whittling down that one a little bit, and so that'll help. We can outbody them if we need to, but they can still do a lot of damage. Here we actually, man, this was a great combat for the Skink Chief. So I pumped him up. He had Prime War Beast. Spent a command point on him to give him another one. And so he was punching in there pretty hard. I think this is the turn where I forgot to use the Fusel of Conflagration, which would have been nice. I could have killed another Blightkings with that. But he charged in and did quite a bit of damage. Killed off a lot of them. Unfortunately, he strikes back. He gets 4 in, and he focuses on that one Stegadon that was there and kills that Stegadon off pretty easily. He may have lost another one from Battle Shock maybe over there. And these warriors, they made the charge. It was like, it wasn't very long. I think they only had to make a 3-inch charge. I surrounded those Putrid Blightkings with 10 warriors. So they were making 20 attacks and then 20 jaw attacks. And they couldn't kill 5 of those Plague Bearers. Man, warriors are outside of Kotal's Claw. I don't think warriors are worth taking in a horde. I've constantly been disappointed when I take them in a horde. Maybe it's because they don't have the spears, but the rend from the club should be. I mean, statistically, it kind of works out to about the same, depending on how many you can get in. But I've been disappointed by them. I think I might go back to MSU units, and you might see why here in a little bit. So that was the end of my turn here. We did take out 4 of those. Luckily, he didn't roll Battle Shock of 1 to bring D6 back. So I score 3 that turn, and now we're bottom of 2. And let's see what we do here. I think. Oh, he gets some mortals off of the tree, I think is what that was. It did some mortals to everything around it. Killed off quite a few warriors with some of his stuff, and put some mortals on these Stegadons. So he's moving these guys up, and he's running them, because he needs to get them up as close as he can. Unfortunately, he rolled a 1 for the run, so they're pretty slow, and they're too far away. They're not going to be able to do anything this turn, so... without the tree there, they're quite slow. These guys are stuck in combat, and these guys kind of shuffle just more in a protective zone. He was being a little weary of those guys. I think I would have, if I was them, I might have either engaged the warriors or engaged here. I don't know. It would be hard for me to get over there, but I could capture that objective. But it was probably the right play to stay there on his objective. Hold that one. Keep me at bay with these 2 hordes. So, in his turn, he piles in on that Stegadon there, and that's the Stegadon Chief. He gets, I think 5 in, and that's more than enough to... Maybe it wasn't enough. Oh, yeah, he survived by 1 wound. That's right. He survived by 1 wound and was able to strike back and actually killed off 4 Putrid Blightkings. But in this list, when they die, I take a mortal on a 2-up. So even though he survived with 1 wound, he was able to fight back and kill off quite a few of them. He then died because he took the mortals. So yeah, that was fun. Let's see what we got. So that's how that turn ended. He's got 4 Blightkings left here, along with his boss, his general there. This full strength unit is still waiting to do anything for this turn, and this unit of about 10 is still waiting in the wings to. They're just absorbing the skink shots, kind of keeping the skinks out of the game, but they're taking damage. If I can get the next turn here, maybe I can salvage this. It's not looking good staring at this full unit of 20 coming down on my flank. So it's 7-6 at this point. He's still up by 1, and we roll off, and he wins the roll off going into 3. So he brings these guys in this way, this full unit, and I think they run. And I'm thinking that's a dumb move, but I don't know what's coming up. So he's run these guys. He's not within 7 of that tree. So what's his plan? These 4 come down, and they're gonna attack these warriors. I'm thinking, okay, this is kind of a tight gap here. There's no way that he's gonna be able to do much damage to these Saurus warriors. I was wrong. This unit over here is still just protecting this objective, just kind of playing chicken with these skinks over here. He summons in another tree. This is his proxy tree with some real life Nurgle on it, looks like. And so he summons in this tree. He had enough contagion points, summoning points. Summoned it off this hero to help push these guys. So now they're within 7 of a tree. Now they can run and charge. And so they're looking at this juicy Stegadon here that's holding this objective. So they do make the charge, and they surround and pile in on this guy. They've got a lot in range, and these 4 Putrid Blightkings hit these Source Warriors. And they get a decent charge to where they're all in. This is him turning in his Triumph, which, you know, everyone always forgets. And so he's going to re-roll hits. Just re-roll all his hits for the Putrid Blightkings that are going into the Stegadon. This is their roll here. You can see quite a few 6s, which turn into D6 shots. And I think basically everything hit from the first one. And so he's adding a ton of attacks. And now you can see a Stegadon-sized hole right in between all those Putrid Blightkings. So that Stegadon did not survive very long. He went down fast. This just... Look at this. Okay, so these 4 Putrid Blightkings, remember this horde that they're running into? I think I've lost 4 from this unit maybe so far. And these guys just blow up the unit. They have a 4-up save. It is -1 Ren because of the battalion, so they have a 5-up save. Coalesce doesn't help me here. Coalesce actually hurts me here because their bravery is stuck at 8. So I think he kills, he may have killed something like 16 of them. So he killed a ton in combat. But now they're at -8 to bravery, which means, you know, since they don't have a horde bonus. Now, I would have only gotten a little bit from the horde bonus anyway, but they're -8 to bravery. I don't have any command points. I used them all on that Stegadon chief, pumping him up to kill off some guys. And now I don't have anything to save their bravery. So I lose I think it was another 12 in bravery. So 4 Putrid Blightkings killed off 28 Source Warriors. Yikes. So that's what I'm left with there. Yeah, you can see my dead pile. You can see my dead pile there. So that was bad. That was bad. So he scores 4 in that turn, and now I don't have a real good path for victory. So if we look back at this, you know, I think we kind of determined. Here we go. So this is my turn. So on my turn at the bottom of 3, I really only had one option. I was going to pull these warriors back because they would just die horribly into this zone to make sure I hold this objective. Charge this Carnosaur up here. I could probably take out those 4 Putrid Blightkings and get this zone back. At some point, I've got to advance this one and take on those guys. So if I kill off another 5 of those, assuming we get the run and shoot, I should be able to get a couple in, maybe charge. If I got lucky, score that objective just based on sheer bodies. That would get me 3. But I still have no path to get 4 for the next 3 turns is what I'd have to do. And that's not even dealing with this. We did roll off to see who would win the next. We're assuming I got 3. I won the roll off, but at that, it's, you know, I'm still only scoring 3, and so there's really no path for me to win this one. I wasn't able to deal with this full block. I took on that middle block. I would be able to kill it off. I could bring this Carnosaur down here, but he just doesn't have enough survivability. Once they attack back, which I can't clear that whole unit. Once they attack back, they're gonna kill off that Carnosaur and then make easy work of those last Source Warriors. So these Skinks could, you know, they would have had 2 turns to shoot, so we probably could have cleared off most of those Putrid Blightkings, and then maybe in the future couple of turns push this way, but that's a lot of ifs and whats, and we were getting pretty late. So we called it there. Major win for Nurgle and the 60 Putrid Blightkings. It's a good list. It's so much beef. It's so hard to grind through that much stuff without them getting a hold of you. Because when they get a hold of you, they're just going to put a ton of dice into your face with rend. With that battalion, they give you rend, and so that's nice. It's nice. You got to try to avoid combat with them or hit them as hard as possible in one turn. So we're at about 30 minutes. We need to wrap this up. So in conclusion, I think what I need to do is I need to not bring hordes of Saurus warriors anymore. I think it can still work in Kotal's Claw where they can have a little bit more offensive punch, but here their just offense was nothing. They couldn't even clear a 5-man unit of Plague Bearers, and that bravery just absolutely hurt so bad when they lost that many. So I think I'm back to MSU units of the Warriors. They work better as screens, I think. Let them screen, then bring the Carnosaur in. I definitely needed some bound endless spells in this list. I think a purple sun, a bound purple sun, would have just done wonders on these guys. Maybe something to just block their path would have also helped. He doesn't have any wizards, and so I think that would be the critical weakness for his army, is just letting the spells run rampant. Skinks did good, but they stayed out of combat. They basically never moved all game. They stayed back there very cagey. Stegadons did good. I think I need to work a little bit better on getting them all punching on the same turn. That's kind of how I've designed. I think that's kind of how they're designed. There is, you're bringing in that chief and his two buddies, and they're just going to smash a unit, turn around, smash another unit. So I think I need to focus on using those Stegadons a little bit better. But, hey, I cleared about half the Putrid Blightkings all said and done, about 30 of them I got rid of. We still had about 30 to go. So it was a good game. What do y'all think? How do you deal with Putrid Blightkings? I think my answer is a bound Purple Sun. That's why in my competitive list, I think a lot of people put bound Geminids in every list, and I think that's really good. I think it's an auto-include. I also think a bound Purple Sun is an auto-include. I like those two as my bound endless spells because they serve different functions, but that bound endless spell is one of the Purple Sun is the best way to remove these giant elite hordes like Phoenix Guard, like Mortek Guard, like Putrid Blightkings. So good game, a lot of fun. It was a lot of beef. All right, guys. We'll catch y'all next time.